latter half of the 1960s would take a trip outside of the United States to show us what foreign markets were doing with ghost and horror films. Enter Hasta el Viento Tiene Miedo, or better known as Even the Wind is Frightened, or Even the Wind is Scared, a 1968 Mexican horror film written and directed by Carlos Enrique, and is considered a cult movie in Mexico. A remake was released in 2007 around Halloween, and it stars Martha Higardo as the protagonist. The film is about a group of students in college, exclusive for women, led by Claudia Alicia Bonet, who decide to investigate a local tower that has figured prominently in disturbing reoccurring dreams of Claudia that she's been having. The dream also features a hanged woman's body. They are suspended from school for their antics, but Claudia learns from one of the female staff members that the person in the dream is a student who killed herself years before, and that the teacher has seen her ghost. After this, we would take a break and jump into the 70s with Web of the Spider, a 1971 Italian horror film directed by Antonio Marghetti, using the pseudonym Anthony M. Dawson. The film is also known as And Comes Dawn, But the Color Red, and several other titles in Italian that I can't even begin to pronounce. It's a remake of the 1964 film Castle of Blood, also directed by Marghetti. The film is narrated by a troubled Edgar Allan Poe, as played by Klaus Kinski. It begins with Poe's attempts to confirm a ghost story by examining the ghost's tomb. However, he doesn't go too far to avoid being haunted and killed. Later, a journalist named Alan Foster visits Poe to drive him out of madness, but he is forced to challenge the horror writer on the authenticity of his stories. The following year, we would see the release of The Other, a 1972 psychological thriller film directed by Robert Mulligan, adapted for film by Tom Tieran from his novel of the same name. In the summer of 1935, 12-year-old twins Niles and Holland Perry live with their family on a Connecticut farm. Their loving grandmother Ada has taught them something called the game. A number of accidents begin happening, and it seems Niles and Holland are responsible. It is Ada who begins to see the truth, and she is the only one who can stop this macabre game of murder. And finally, we end things with The Legend of Hell House, a 1973 British horror film directed by John Hughes and based on the American novel Hell House by Richard Matheson, who also wrote the screenplay. The film stars Pamela Franklin, Roddy McDowall, Clyde Revell, and Gail Hunnicutt as a group of physicists and parapsychologists who spend a week in a purportedly haunted manor in which previous investigators were killed while doing research. Physicist Lionel Burnett is enlisted by an eccentric millionaire, Mr. Destuch, to make an investigation into survival after death in the one place where it has yet to be refuted. This is the Basalto House, the Mount Everest of haunted houses, originally owned by the notorious roaring giant Emmerich Basalto, a 6'5" perverted millionaire and supposed murderer who disappeared soon after the massacre at his home. The house is believed to be haunted by numerous spirits, the victims of Basalto's twisted and sadistic desires. Join us next time as we continue traveling down the road of horror.